Hello and welcome to the Sweaty the Farmer and the Game Design, where we spice our interstellar soup with some delicious paprika, just to give it that extra, that color, that deliciousness. This is episode number 81, in the middle of the pack. I am the London Gamer as the Sweaty.
And I am Lucho the Farmer. Thanks for joining us on this episode. This week we stroll, then sprint, and finally rush towards the mid game.
The meat of the burger mid game, my friend. But before all that, discussion here is based on our opinions and our in-game experiences. Everything that we say here, do, discuss, can be affected by the experiences that we have in the games that we play and the things that we think about the games that we play. So, yeah, that's a little disclaimer. Don't forget to criticize us. That's basically it. And this week in the deep dive, we have a mid-game discussion. What is the mid-game? How do you eat the mid-game? Where is the mid-game? Who is the mid-game? What is the mid-game? Who is Gamora? What is Gamora? There you go. So, and before all that, and now that we have you here, don't forget to subscribe, click the notification bell, leave us a like or a comment, do anything social media platform lets you. If you're on YouTube, just comment, leave a like, and that helps. If you are not on YouTube, you're hearing us somewhere else, put stars and that sort of stuff. But more than that, share us in your own platforms. If you have Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp chains, TikTok, Qt, and any other social platform when you can share videos and links and that sort of stuff. Please do with our content so we can reach more people and entertain them and see if they like what we do here, what we discuss, and all the things that we say, right?
All the many things.
All the many things. So, my friend, introduce us to this thing.
Okay, so basically we have talked plenty full of times about the end game.
Yeah.
But how do we get to an end game?
How?
So that's a mid game. Basically,
yeah.
Basically a big part, or not big, but like fundamental part of the experience on any video game is that adventure through the middle lands, through the meaty part in the middle of the game.
Yeah.
So we wanna talk about what that mid game is for us. Where does it exist? What do we make out of it?
Fair. We have talked too about the early game. We have talked about like leveling experiences and tutorials and introductions to games and that sort of stuff. We talk about plenty of that, right? In other episodes.
Yeah, we have mentioned it. We haven't talked through in the part of the early game, but
yeah, our focus has been always the end game.
For the most part.
For the most part. All right. So, what is exactly the mid game? Where is it?
where do we play the mid part of the mid game?
Where do we put that mid game? I think. Well, no, I think. I think. And then exist. I think that it is after the early game and the tutorials and that sort of stuff, but before you get to the high level content stuff. So 65%, no more, 75% of the game is the mid game, technically speaking.
It depends on. I guess that depends on how the developer decide to burn the player's time.
Yeah, I was thinking about like where is the mid game located inside a story driven game? And I was like, because technically speaking, a story driven game doesn't have an end game unless you count end game as trying to get achievements inside the story driven game.
It depends on the story type of game. If it is something like Nier Automata like that has multiple endings,
yeah,
then I'll say that probably the mid game is your first playthrough,
Okay.
where you kind of get acquaintance with like the world.
Yeah.
Well, then you try to get to a quote-unquote real ending or to discover the other endings, and like then like that's kind of the end game, is to pick all the cracks in the story and see all the little things that the developers put there for you to
explore and experience and everything else.
But that's for that type of storytelling, like multiple ending. I like for more like linear, straightforward, just
Tell your story.
like things.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell, and it gets mushier.
I agree. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
For those type of things, it's totally less defined.
Yeah, because it's the same, because they don't have like a design with intention end game, because the design intention of those games are just telling a story, a compelling story. The final mid game is weirder, because if there is no, like, the mid game is defined by their the mid game is defined by their extremes.
No,
but because it sits between the end game and the early game.
That's one option, but it could also be defined in terms of the story itself. Like when you're telling a story, for the most part, the mid of the story is the build up to a climax.
Ah, yeah, you can say that. Yeah. Where
that's kind of like the mid, like that tension building portion of the story.
Could be called the mid game of the story. I don't know.
If it is like the story is the thing, you could say that's the thing.
Yeah,
I think the
think
story climaxes, and then it's like all the.
Yeah, I think it's easier to see and define a mid game when you have a clear early game and a clear end game. I think that's what's gonna say. Compared to these story driving games where it's
not about. In my head, it's more that it's most in a case-by-case game. But
yes.
On
where exactly is it? But
yeah,
I will say that the majority of games have this portion of it where
most modern games do, right, for sure.
But
that's a clear distinction.
Yeah, beyond location, what exactly is the mid game? I think we'll put it like the moment where the game lets you experience their systems without challenge you in a competitive manner or in a high manner like the end game does, but assuming that you know all the bases and kind of assuming that you know the basis of the game, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like if we were to define the early game as like the hand-holding portion of the game, like when the game is teaching the player how to approach that specific game, the mid-game starts when the hand-holding stops.
Yeah.
When the game kind of assumes that, okay, now I did show you all the parts, kind of in a basic state.
Yeah.
Now it is up to you to go and do your own thing with the pieces that you just learned. And it's when the exploration part, and the exploration doesn't mean like exploration in game, but like system exploration,
correct,
or content exploration, kind of opens up to a player to enjoy to their own devices.
Correct. So that is the portion that we're gonna check out there. I know that is murky, but I think that's the best way that we can define it. Like
it's murky, but also if we want to include many types of games, it has to be kind of mushy.
Yeah.
To give us some flexibility.
All right. So what's the difference between early game and mid game? To reiterate, early game is when you're giving tutorials, they're explaining you certain systems, basic systems, not advanced systems. That's the other difference I want to make. And they're selling you the experience of the game. Like, oh, this game is about space ninjas. Oh, this game is about exploring the world. Oh, this game is about you can be a superhero. Oh, this game is about this power fantasy. Oh, this game is about shooting and that sort of stuff. That's the early game when they're teaching you the basics and and they showing you the tutorials, they showing you how to control your character, they showing you how the basic system works, how everything in a basic form clicks with you. That's the early game. And then the mid game is when you apply all that in a certain manner and start exploring more complicated systems that are correlated to these basic systems, when you start seeing other pieces of the content in the game that requires you that you know the basics system. I think that's a big difference, right?
Yeah, that's at least where we are drawing the
line. Anything to add to that explanation, my friend?
No. That sounds quite accurate.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
That sounds like where we wanna draw the line. Yes. To be more precise.
And then in the same way, what is the difference between mid game and end game? All right. So you say when we're checking out this script, you say something very exact when you say that in the end game you are required to actually explore deeper parts of the game or something similar like that. And I don't know if I'm phrasing it correctly.
Me?
Yeah, you.
When? Where?
Yesterday. What? I think we were talking about this.
Oh.
Script. Yes.
Yeah, we're talking about the script. That's true. I mean, basically, it's basically the end game starts where the game requires you some proficiency with the systems. So one thing is like the mid game is where you get to explore all the systems of the game.
Yes.
The end game is where you need to actually know how to use them.
There we go.
If I were to put an example, is let's say, for example, Destiny 2, where the mid game, the game you're exploring that the armor has stats.
Yes.
But you kind of don't really care about what the exact numbers are.
Or what they have.
Has mod slots, and you say, I know I can put things here, but pretty much anything that you put, fine, and it's gonna work. The end game starts when you need to engage in more detail with those systems. Say, okay, now I have to pay attention to the numbers.
Yeah.
Now I have to pay attention to the mods. It's kind of where the theory crafting, at least for RPGs, becomes
important,
a more central part of the experience. Where where that matters, like where those little differences matter, is where the end game starts, kind of.
Yeah, because we're having a discussion about you can access certain in-game activities, but you technically are still in the mid game because you're not exploring that side of the game.
And because the game is not asking you to, it's asking you to, you've, like the higher, for example, in Destiny again, the higher item level pieces you have, the better you're gonna do. But they don't have to have all the stats that you need. You don't have to have good perks on your weapons. You'll be fine. Yeah. You're still doing activities, quote unquote, that you'll be doing at endgame.
Correct.
I mean, it is the same for things like World of Warcraft. Like you can do Mythic Zeros.
Yeah.
It's kind of, you'll be fine even if your build is not, even if your stats are not what you want to.
Yeah.
If your secondaries are kind of messed up, you'll be fine. But if you really want to push high keys, for example, you actually need to pay, like your stats now need to be in the right combination.
Yeah, know what you're kind of doing, kind of know.
Your breakpoints, like on Mythic Zeros, you know that you have interrupts and CCs, but you can disregard them some points or just forget. For higher keys, you cannot forget those things. It's just that difference in kind of being aware of the tools that the game has and like gaining some proficiency with the tools.
Yeah.
Kind of the difference in my head.
And then the next question is like, if that is the big difference between mid game and end game, are casual people just living in a eternal mid game?
That depends. That depends who you ask. At least for MMORPGs, like the difficulty scale has changed towards a more granular difference between things.
Yeah.
So, for example, as in WoW, we do heroic raiding.
Correct. Yes.
So if you ask a mythic raider, yes, we're casual because heroic raiding is too easy. But it's still a form of raiding. So yeah. But if you ask us about someone who's doing only normal raiding, yeah, that's casual. But do we consider ourselves casual? It's kind of in the middle. It kind of depends on how you ask. There is a component of investment.
Yeah, because we like in the same definition that we give to endgame when it is an aspirational goal activity that you do, technically doing like a raid, even if it's in an easy quote unquote setting, it is considered an aspirational goal. So you technically are doing kind of endgame stuff. I would probably categorize casuals, if you quote unquote, if we're gonna categorize somewhere in this discussion, like people who dip their toes into the end game, but they're not there for the most. They're not there for the prestigious reward, but they're there more for the experience. What do you think about that?
I don't think that's a fair distinction.
All right. So how do you make the distinction then?
I don't think you can, because again, it will change to person to person. Like if you ask someone who's super deep into Destiny 2's PvP, if we are casual, we'll say yes. Because
all right. So it's just that difficult to find.
No, it kind of depends who you ask and what that person's end game is.
All right. Okay. I get it.
Like if you're a raid only Destiny 2 player.
Yeah.
For you, someone who only does PvP, that may look casual because it's just about going around clicking faces without doing any mechanics or carrying out like all the jumping puzzle bullshit that Destiny has.
Yeah, correct.
But it's like you cannot say that one of them is less or more valid, because both things were, for example, put on purpose on the game. The game does have a competitive playlist of PvP, and does have raids. And if you engage in only one of those, your point of view is very biased towards that one.
Okay, so like if we try to categorize casual players, because we were having this conversation about that. So are casual players? The question is, are casual players living in the mid game eternally? But if we try to define casual players as people who don't engage in endgame, I think we will discover that we don't have much casual players, at least as we define endgame, right?
Or that all, either that or we all are casual players.
Yeah, it's one of the other.
Because what I'm saying is just that it kind of depends who you're asking.
Yeah, because as our definition of endgame is like, if you are trying to do something for prestigious reason or a difficult activity for prestigious reason, what does that mean inside a game for an individual person to be casual? Because sometimes casual just aspire to do one thing that is considered prestigious for them, right? And in technical terms of the game, can be prestigious for the reward. Like if you do, and the example is like, even if you do a normal raid, you will get like the proper achievements, and you will discover that not a lot of people does normal raids, but a lot of people does another kind of end game activity, like collecting pets, And those people are called casuals, even if they are actually doing a prestigious achievement activity reward. So yeah, what you said is like, or either we all are casuals or none of us are.
Yeah. That's kind of like for example, in Destiny 2, all those people who complete all those stupid jumping puzzles in less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Am I a casual to them? Yes, because I fucking suck at those.
Yeah, I jump in.
And
yeah,
I will never get good, and I'm not trying to get good at that.
Correct. Yes.
I do it.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough.
But do I spend time investing more into RPG parts of the game? Yeah. But you don't need to, for example, to get good at the stupid jumping puzzles.
That is true. Yes.
So that person can be amazing at completing those missions in under 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And have 5 shit builds.
Yes. So I will say that we. I think I will say something funny, but I think we all kind of live in the mid game.
Yeah, from a certain perspective.
Yeah, but we engage in the end game from one shape to the another, as we have analyzed like the stages of the gaming, of the playing of the game.
Like especially for modern RPGs, where they usually have multiple like end game side.
Yeah.
Or multiple ways of approaching that end game content. Yeah, it's pretty much impossible for one person to engage in all of them at the same time.
Yeah.
Especially in larger games like World of Warcraft 14 or things like of that size.
Correct. Yeah. So it's weird. It's
always casual for someone.
Trying to position a player somewhere in this spectrum is difficult. You cannot pinpoint it. You'll find that a lot of people actually engage in in-game things, even if they consider themselves casual, without knowing.
There is just no absolute position. Like if you take, for example, in WoW, one of the Goldmaker players.
Yeah.
Am I a casual? Yes. Because I barely engage with that.
Correct.
Like I just craft a couple of things, I make like 100 gold a day, and that's it. Filthy casual.
Yeah.
But they never write to me, so are they casual to me? Yeah, because they never write.
So yeah, trying to be done. So the next time that you say to somebody that is a casual in a game, you think about it very careful, because maybe they can be a casual to you, but technically they're not a casual. So I don't know.
It's just about being open-minded too.
Correct. About what people actually do and how they function inside
people
games.
Approach games.
Yeah, exactly. We all approach games differently. That is the reality of things. We all want different things from our games and the way that we play them. And all those things are valid. Everybody wants to approach that interactive experience that they want, and
you have the right to have fun however you want.
Exactly. I think that sounds so better. You have the right to have fun whatever you want inside a game. Yeah. So how do we evaluate good mid games?
I mean, now that we kind of know, or we have a vague idea of where the mid game is, how do we say what's good and what's bad?
And for me, like, I write this yesterday, and I was like, yeah, this is the thing that I want to say. I believe, as a game designer and an artist, that is the art of making the player fall in love with the end game, right? Because the early game is you're selling the game. You're telling them my experience is worth it and it has cool things inside it, right? That's what you do in the early game, in the tutorial, when you're teaching your systems to the player. You're telling them, look, my experience is cool. It has big dragons. It has power fantasies. It has a hard challenge if you're into that, or it has a cool collecting ton stuff, right? There's different ways to sell the game depending on what you're trying to sell from the game, right? That's the early game. But the mid game is when you show the meat and potatoes of your game. When you actually give them, if we're gonna do the food analogy, the early game is the intro or the appetizers. When you awake the hunger of the game. The mid game is the strong plate, right? When you feel the hunger of the player, and then the end game is the dessert, when you tease them with deliciousness and hard to achieve goals. I don't know if that analogy works. What do you think of that analogy?
I mean, you can make it work. I don't know if I would go with that analogy, but you can make it work.
So my point is, like, you want to leave your players satisfied with the systems of your game in the mid game, right? But you want to leave them wanting a little bit more to explore in the fullness of those systems, right? So the job of the mid game is you already sold the idea of your game to the player. Now you want to make them marry to that idea. So just like give them the full deep of let them explore the full deep of your system, so you can do. Let them explore the possibilities of the game that has, and that possibilities and all that content that is there in the mid game will make them think like, oh, cool. If this is all the possibilities, the end game will be super interesting to explore because I have all these tools and all these possibilities and all this meat to get there, right? So I think that makes a stronger mid game. That makes a strong mid game.
I see where you're.
I'm explaining that. I tried the best to explain them. I don't know if I was clear enough, Lucho. What do you think?
I think of it as how to explain this, as in terms of shapes.
In terms of
shapes,
shapes?
early game is very narrow.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Because it's where the game is teaching you what you should know. So it's teaching you step by step. So it looks very narrow. You're very constrained.
Yeah.
The mid game is kind of large because it's where you have gained access to all the meaty parts of the game.
Yep.
And as you keep moving, the end game kind of becomes again very narrow because it's when you focus your time into one or two activities.
Okay.
Even though those activities can be very deep and difficult,
yeah,
like you usually focus your time just in a few of them. So for me, a good mid game is something that is very ample and like has a lot of options. It has a lot of depth. It has a lot of stuff for you to explore and engage. That you can like that once you reach the end game, you can decide, okay, I don't care about that, so I'm not gonna engage with that. But the mid game is there to show you where it is and what the deepness of that part of the game is.
I agree. It is
even if you're not gonna pursue that to
that point, to the end game point. Yeah. So why do you think, if in our perspective that is the interesting part of the game, why do you think that in a lot of games recently there's been a lot of focus on having a good end game for the longevity of the game, of the actual games?
Because of that, because you want to keep players playing your game for as long as possible.
Yeah,
and that's probably easier to do with end game activity, where you can keep players engaged more time.
All right.
Because if the activity itself is challenging enough,
Yeah.
you'll spend a lot of time doing it.
All right. I get it.
So you'll probably have a better chance of keeping players just playing at end game, at mid game.
Yeah.
And also kind of the mid game is kind of, in my head, is the grindy part of the game. Where you're collecting the stuff that you'll eventually use, where you're
End game things and activities and that
you're,
sort of
you're
stuff.
getting ready to, so you don't want to burn too much time.
Yeah. Here is
into
where the grind
preparation.
is, right? Too. Here's where the majority
Here
of
is
the
where the
grind is.
grind lies.
Yeah, here's when the grind is. All right, so if we can put it in a list, what will a mid game will have? I think I will say like interesting systems to explore.
I'll have depth.
What?
Just more than interesting is depth.
Deep systems to explore. Will say you will say
Yeah, because interesting, you could have an interesting but shallow
system.
which is just lack of development. Like it's an interesting idea that gives rise to an interesting system, but
Yeah.
it's underdeveloped.
All right, so deep system to explore. Interesting activities to grind, because here's where the grind lies, and an entertaining kind of lore or how do you say ambience, or because you're gonna spend so much time in this point of the game, you have to try to play to not get bored of your.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like that sounds more like a thing for the whole game.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. But like, I don't know. I feel like it's important for this part of the game.
It is important for the overall experience.
Yeah,
but I feel
yeah,
like that's important for the overall experience with the game.
Yeah. And will you dare to put here that a mid game should have like clear avenues of progress? Or will you put it like that the game has enough offers of exploration, maybe?
Yeah. That sounds
Something like that, so that you have enough interesting things to do inside this portion of the game. That's gonna help you with the grind. So deep systems, good grinds, and enough things to do inside the game. That's what can define as a good mid game, right?
That sounds right.
It sounds weird because it sounds like things that you can define a good game. That it is, but the weird thing is like a game is better if it has a good mid game than anything else.
That's I don't know if you can say that objectively.
Meh.
In general,
Yeah.
but definitely a stronger mid-game experience will lead more often than not to satisfying experience.
Yes. All right.
I don't know if it is that objective to say, yeah, it's if it has this, it's gonna be a good game. Don't know too much. but it's definitely part of a fulfilling experience. Or
Yes. All right. So now that we know what a good mid game does, kind of, sort of.
as best as we can define it.
Yeah. If you have a better annotation or something like that, just leave it in the comments and we'll see.
If you're being too vague, let us know.
Yeah, please, and we will see if we can correct it or make a correction in the next episode. So yeah, and then you point us to a Reddit article about about a complaint that sounds like a
So this was the inspiration for this.
There you go.
For this topic. So basically I came across this Reddit post about Warframe, in fact. So it is a controversial opinion that basically says that Warframe is a great is a game that has great late game / end game kind of thing.
Yeah.
And a terrible like new player, returning player experience.
Yes.
Which is something that in principle is not that
far from
crazy.
Yeah.
It's just that when you go out and read the whole explanation, basically this player is saying that that whenever this person logs in, they have no idea what they're doing in the game. Meaning they don't, and like they don't know where to go.
Yeah.
But basically they don't know how to achieve the goals that they want.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it, and I say, I mean, this person phrased it on terms of early game. And what I was telling you yesterday is that I think this is a complaint about the mid game in Warframe. Because it's like, as we discussed before, it's about the game failing for this, like in this person's opinion, in that like midi part of the game of engaging with the system.
Yeah.
Or like not knowing what to do with the systems in there to achieve the goals that this person may or may not have.
Yes. All right. So we always have said here that Warframe has a terrible early game.
It has a so okay, so I didn't finish the point, I guess.
All right, finish.
Yeah, so I guess we have always agreed that the early game is awful in Warframe.
Yep.
Just because the game does an atrocious job at basically exposing you to a system. Or
to
like
basic systems.
Teaching you the system.
Yeah.
But you get exposed to a lot of things. Like you get exposed to the mods, but the game doesn't really project. Like if you, the game showed you, you have these slots to put mods, and that's the extent of the explanation.
Yeah.
It basically never shows you, you have elemental, you have critical. You can combine elements in other elements, and enemies have different type of resistances and weaknesses.
Yeah.
And you have stacking things and multi-shots and. So again, that's a really poor job at like kind of explaining what the system is actually doing.
Yes.
Again,
correct.
like you at some point you unlock your operator, spoiler, and you say, you have this focus thing, and it just it ends there. That's the explanation.
You have things.
Focus, you have this new guy.
Yeah.
That has some powers. Go.
Cool.
Go ham with it.
Yeah.
But in that, the point is that it has passives, that it has these abilities that give you like this side progression kind of thing.
Yeah, that it will help, that you need it for specific activities when you need his resistance to be important, because they are kind of a new element, quote unquote, the ability that they use. Yeah, they're terrible. Explain all that.
So it does a very poor job at explaining new stuff, which is kind of like the early game.
Yes.
But I do disagree. But I do disagree that the mid game is bad, because I think once you get over the gymnastics of
understanding Warframe.
There is a lot to understand, but where there is to understand is very rich.
Yeah.
So once you go through a wiki and kind of read what the interactions between the things are.
Or go to a YouTube video and they will tell you like, this does this and this does that, or whatever way media that you absorb these kind of things.
Then if you go through that exercise, then it's very rich, because it has a lot of deepness in that sense, and and it has a lot of things to like that meaty part of Warframe of collecting stuff, for example. That the game is also has a very good job at explaining that the game is basically about collecting stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of the central activity in Warframe is collecting the thing.
Yeah.
The game does a very good job at explaining that, but there is a lot to collect, and that's the more enjoyable part of it. Like getting all the weapons, mastering all the weapons, getting all the frames, mastering all the frames.
Yeah. And the other thing is, Warframe is a weird game. But the other thing is, like, generally the game, the way that general game sells you on the game in general is they put some sort of important quest at the beginning of the game to guide you, right? Usually, right? Yeah. Usually is a very common use strategy when they give you a quest to guide you to the beginning of the game, and the quest is very showy and it shows your importance and it kind of accommodates you well into the world. Warframe does terrible things. And I will say that moment of the game is in the mid game when you start hitting the big quest of the game. And then you kind of start understanding what is your point inside the game and what exactly are you doing. At the beginning it's like, you're Tenno and you wake up and you've been asleep for years. Go kill stuff. Okay, you have powers. Cool.
Yeah, but again, just to come back to his complaint, like basically this person is complaining that just that has nothing to do with what we were talking about. Yeah. No, I was going to a point. You went in a weird tangent.
Yeah, I know. Let me finish my weird tangent to where my point is. So, and that gives you in a better that practice of having a strong quest gives you in a better position to absorb all the things in the mid game. To know exactly what you want from the game and that sort of stuff, to know exactly what's the point of the game and that sort of stuff.
I don't think it's necessary.
It's not necessary, but it leaves you in a better position for that exploration phase of the game, of the end game.
Maybe it depends how it's delivered. I don't.
Yeah, that is my opinion, and that's what my weird tangent is. It's like that is. Sometimes when people complain about that they don't know what to do in the mid game, it has to do that the early game wasn't good enough to put them in a good position to absorb the mid game. That was my point. Sometimes even if the mid game is good, people won't catch it because you didn't sell the game correctly. That's my point.
I disagree with that.
All right.
For certain types of games.
All right.
Because if you think about it, Warframe is kind of a sandbox game.
Oh yes.
Like the game just throws you there and just do your thing.
Yeah.
Which is it's for example very, very similar to like a simulation game, like a city simulation or stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I know you don't like.
Yeah.
But it's very sandbox game. Like just it throws you in the middle of something and do your thing.
Yeah.
And kind of just self-direct your own fun.
Yeah.
Warframe, you think about it, it's very much like that. Just has like half an hour of quests at the beginning, and then it throws you in the sandbox.
Yes.
Just go and find your own fun, building your own road.
Yeah. All right.
So I'm just saying that I disagree with you, just because what you're saying applies for RPGs. But like if you think of like sandbox games.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Yeah,
thing.
I get your point. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just bringing it up because I know you don't like sandbox.
Yes.
But for sandboxes, that's not a thing at all. Just.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
Which I, for example, do enjoy a lot. Like I enjoy city planners a lot.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. There is that is my opinion
It's just the bias of the game.
Yeah,
that you like.
the bias of my opinion there, that I do like better focus games in those terms of like they sell me better the game, and sandbox games, they're selling you something else different. That yeah, you're right.
That's one thing that I disagree. It's not that I.
Yeah.
Just that if we're talking, for example, about RPG experiences, I very much agree with you.
All right. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
But there are more things out there.
Yes, absolutely.
That's my only point, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. So, So we will say that this person is just wrong.
It's not that it's wrong,
or is he not seen, or maybe he doesn't get that Warframe is a game about collecting stuff. Maybe he was looking for another experience.
This person was probably looking for another experience.
Yeah,
and that's fair. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like all I'm saying about this specific post is that I get where the criticism is coming from. Because the game does a very bad job of showing you what the sandbox has.
Yeah.
But if you put up the time of like flowing through the early game just for the sake of doing it.
Yeah, we did it. And that's the reason that we fell in love with Warframe. That we actually...
was our experience, 100%. We just plowed through the early game.
Yeah.
Hoping to find something good at some point.
Yes.
Which we did.
Yes.
but the mid game, like if you do the job of like understanding the basics, then the game has a lot to offer. Correct.
And it's funny because my reason for plowing through the early game of Warframe and kind of like dealing with the bad presentation of the game and that sort of stuff was because I want to see. Because I find that the aesthetics of the game were super interesting and that they had some kind of very interesting lore that the community was very quiet about in some point of the game.
Right? I mean,
but my journey from there to that made me understand, like getting from that to getting to the lore that I actually wanted to see. Made me see that the game was interesting in the mid part, in the mid game, in the collecting stuff, in the having frames and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, no. My point. I mean, each person has its own reason to stick.
Yeah.
Throughout the early game with the game.
Yes.
What the reason is that may change from person to person. But...
Correct. Yeah.
But yeah, basically what I'm saying is that Warframe does a poor job at holding your hand.
Yes.
Yes, it does. But that doesn't mean that what it has to offer in the middle is not worth.
Yes.
Because basically what this person is saying is, yeah, I know there is a wiki, I know there is YouTube, and I know there is a lot of stuff,
but I don't want it.
In the game, I don't want to engage with it.
Because they have a bad early experience. Basically, that's what they're saying, right?
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, I get, but that doesn't make the stuff in the middle bad. Correct. Yeah. This is what this person is saying.
Yeah.
Because it's not that what it's in the middle is bad.
Yeah.
What it's in the mid game of Warframe, like all the modding system and all the collecting, is very fun.
Yeah. But I think this is
probably is getting mentally to a point of you engaging with that, which is a failure of the early game.
Yes, there we go. Thank you. That's what I was gonna say. It's definitely the big Warframe failure, not knowing how to properly sell this damn game that is so good.
Yeah, but I don't think it's that. If I had to make a guess,
yeah.
It's not that they don't know how to do it, it's that they have given up on doing it. Because how the game has grown.
Yes, and it's because by this point, it's so difficult to actually retool or do something to a point that it will be like successfully getting you through that early things of the game.
Yeah, so I think they just have given up and they just rely on people either gonna plow through and get good stuff, or they don't.
Yeah. Yeah, and we experienced it, like we personally have experienced this with a couple of friends that we have tried to get into the game, but yeah, early Warframe is rough.
Early Warframe is very rough.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. All right, now that we are talking about games, let's talk about some more games, to our opinions of different mid games. So, what about Destiny 2 that we consider a good mid game?
Yeah, so basically you asked me where do I play the mid game for Destiny.
Yeah,
and I said that it's for me it's the grind to get to the power level where you only care about Pinnacle.
Yeah,
like that going from soft cap to hard cap.
Yes,
is the mid game, and I think that grind is very enjoyable. Because it's where you have the most options to progress. You have a lot of activities that will give you meaningful progress every time you complete an activity.
Yeah,
it has the most variety in gameplay. It's where you will experience somehow the most efficient way of doing it is by experiencing all the systems in the game. So basically the game wants you to dungeons, raids if you can, PvP for sure, Gambit. So it's the game is kind of forcing you to engage with all the things. So it's
bounties, exploration.
Exploration.
All the different activities, quests, everything.
Side activity. So the game is kind of forcing you to take part into all these places so that you can find what you like. So in that sense, I feel like it's very successful.
Cool. And it's interesting that you say that, because there is a lot of criticisms on the way that the power leveling in Destiny works. They say that it's a relic of the past, but that's more of a sentiment of a person who's been like in the end game of Destiny, plowing through all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But again, that power level grind is not designed for those players.
Correct.
That power level grind is something that is designed for new players. It's not. It's to take the new player and make it a stable Destiny 2 player.
Correct.
That grind is not like if you're already at the end game of Destiny 2. That power grind is not designed for you.
Yeah, and that's an important distinction to make. But I feel I'm with you. I feel like Destiny 2 has a very successful mid game that you have a lot of things to do, that you have a lot of things to explore, the lore, everything else inside that point. Because after you hit the actually like pinnacle cap, you start to be like more thoughtful on what you're doing in Destiny 2, and that's
you start getting throttled also. Like also a game doesn't want you to finish the powering too fast.
Yeah, the absolutely
it feels more punishing. Like while that initial power level feels very rewarding. Like it's anything that you get, it's an upgrade.
Correct.
And it feels meaningful. After that, it just is not like a slowdown.
Yeah.
It just feels like, last week everything was useful. I reached a point, and now this week nothing is useful.
Yeah, except the hardest thing. So they kind of transition you into a end-game status when you hit it.
It's not a soft transition, and that feels very bad for them.
Yes. All right. Yeah. You're right. Even so, we've been enjoying the end-game things in Destiny 2. But yeah, that is the strong suit of Destiny 2. That meaty thing. All right, 14. Let's talk about 14. So it's weird because I was thinking about this and I was like, where is the mid game of 14? And I would say it's just working for them because they show you all the systems of 14 in like the first hour that you play the game. Right? Kind of
really.
an hour, 2 hours when you go through like the first quest and they give you the abilities and then they tell you how to interact and the triggers.
Really?
No?
No.
Is more than that? I'm being wrong?
Yeah.
All right. So after the early game, I'll not put it in 2 hours.
It's just that there are a couple of significant grinds.
Yeah.
In the middle-ish, like kind of side grinds.
Yeah, okay.
That are very relevant for progression, like all the artifact grinding and stuff like that.
Okay.
That is not presented to you in the first 2 hours.
All right. So Lucho has played a little bit more 14 than me. So yeah, maybe I was misspoke. But we did agree that the strong part of the mid game of 14 is that the story is what gets you to overcome.
The story does all the heavy lifting, and I think the mid game of 14 is actually completing the main story quest.
Okay, so you say that's the mid game, going through the quest of 14.
Because the end game is grinding for currencies and completing trials and raids.
Yeah.
To grind up currencies to upgrade your gear. That's the end game.
Yeah.
But the mid game is where all the story lives.
Yeah.
And usually across you progress to MSQ, you advance. You advance through, like it unlocks to you. Like it will unlock trials, it will unlock dungeons.
Yeah.
Like those are gated behind the main story quest. So the main story quest is unlocking the activities that you will be, like it's unlocking the zones, for example.
All right.
That you will be grinding at endgame. It's unlocking the currencies that you will be grinding at endgame.
All right, but all that is like in the shoulders of the main story.
All of that is on the shoulders of the main story.
Yeah.
And in that specific case, the mid game is very good.
Yeah, because the story is very good. So yeah, this is the case where the actual storytelling of the game. But this is very particular for 14. Like it's very funny. Yeah, it's very particular for 14 because that was the point. Like they were selling a great story, and that helps them make the mid game absolutely fantastic. Right?
It's absolutely delightful, and there are people who never engage with the end game.
Yeah, exactly. Because even if 14 is which is funny because even if 14 is a MMO RPG with all the system and things that the MMO RPG have, you can actually play 14, see the story, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like
and you will have a more than enjoyable experience.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll be happy at the end of experience of the story 14, and you can choose to not engage at all with the MMO system and that sort of stuff for the most part, right?
100%.
Yeah. So that's the weird thing about 14, and that's why he has a great mid game. All right, and now to one of what we consider one of the strongest mid game, which is Monster Hunter World.
Yes, this is one of the weird ones.
We just talk about weird games here, man.
Because this one I'm not so sure, but I will say that that the mid game is you killing all the monsters at least one. It's like the mid game is getting to see all the monsters.
All right.
Because what is the end game? Is getting to a position where you can comfortably farm any monster.
Yes, so you can kill the hardest monsters, and that's the
So you can kill the hardest monster.
Yeah, and that's the end game of War. Yeah,
But that's not really because you can kill the hardest monster.
Yeah.
With an okayish build.
Okay.
If you are good, like if you're professional, it might take you the whole 50 minutes of the
hunt, the whole 45 minutes of the hunt. Yeah.
Yeah. But you can do it. Like with a set of suboptimal decorations, for example.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah, I see what you mean. Huh. So,
and usually, for example, the best armor comes from the latest monster.
Yes, you're right. Yes.
So the end game is to farm, is to reach a point where basically
you can farm for builds. Basically, that's what you
can farm for builds.
So that's the end game,
in my opinion. So that's what I would say the end game is.
Yeah.
So in that sense, the mid game is the process of
killing
unlocking all the monsters.
Yeah, unlocking all the monsters. Yeah. And the first fight and kind of learning how the monster moves and that sort of
getting
stuff.
Good with each monster, recognizing the weaknesses.
Yeah, the way that it attacks and when it gets angry, how it attacks. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I would say.
Man, Monster Hunter World is such a weird game. Because I was thinking like, oh, so you're kind of learning all the time, but if that's the point, you maybe consider that you're in the early game all the time, but that's not totally true.
Because the early game is telling you, okay, you have different types of weapons. And the early game tells you, go and try one weapon out.
Yeah.
Okay, now you choose your weapon. Now you have these items. So, remember that you can craft health potions. Remember that you can craft medicine potion. Blah, blah, blah. It's like telling you, you can make loadout.
Yes.
That's the early game. It's kind of remember to eat every time before a hunt.
So every time before a hunt. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Okay. If that is the definition of the mid game for us in Monster Hunter World, when you kill the new monsters and you experience, is the best one that we can is the most excellent mid game that you can have, right? Seeing the new monster, hunting it, learning the moves.
It is a very, very good mid game.
Yeah.
Because it's also where you will feel like at mid game, at an end game, you have different challenge.
Yes.
The challenge on the mid game is kind of mechanical.
Yeah.
And the challenge at end game is kind of
system wise, about doing
how
a build correctly. Yeah, about
the theory crafting.
Yeah. I see it. Yes. Yeah.
But no matter, for example, how good your build is, it won't get you anywhere if you're not mechanically good.
Yeah.
Or decent. You don't have to be pro player. You have to know at least the weapon that you're using.
There is one interesting thing about the mid game in Monster Hunter World that not all the game does. That it keeps you feeling. It keeps the feeling of challenge all the time. But I feel that that's because of the nature of the game, right?
For sure.
Right, which is something very unique to Monster Hunter. That it keeps you feeling. It keeps you so engaged in that mid game because of the challenge of the game, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you have to think also that as you move towards the end game.
Yeah.
You start getting more concerned with getting efficient.
All right, yeah.
Okay, we killed the monster. Now you I wanna kill him a little bit
faster
without without dying so much. In a more reliable or consistent way.
Yeah. We don't.
Those things become. So, for example, you start thinking about doing thinking about your survivability more in terms of quality of life stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to sharpen my weapon all the time.
Yeah. Interesting. All right, World of Warcraft.
I agree. It's an excellent mid game.
It's an excellent mid game. Yeah. He hits all the right notes. Is fantastic. Yeah. All right. So World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft is weird because it is not good, but it's not bad. That depends. That depends where you put it, because it's not that clear cut.
Yeah.
Because for example.
Yeah. Go ahead.
For example, every expansion starts with a lot of questing.
Yeah.
And that's definitely not the mid game. That's definitely the early game in World of Warcraft.
In terms of the expansion.
Yeah. In terms of the overall experience.
Yeah. Yes.
So in my head for World of Warcraft, the mid game starts in places. It starts when you start the it's kind of similar to Destiny where the item level grind starts.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Yes. All right.
So, and that for example is at the end of the story, or
kind of at the end of the main quest, or yeah. So you think it is weak?
So
in that shape? You think it's weak in that point?
It's weak in the sense that it's like, if we compare it to how engaging the other ones that we have deemed as good are, it's not as engaging, so it cannot be as good. But since the gameplay on itself and the activities on itself, like on its own, that World of Warcraft offers you for that power grind are so good, in my opinion, or for my taste, I don't mind it. Because what is the power grind? Is go do PvP, go do dungeons, and for example, for us specifically, normal raiding.
Correct. Yeah.
That's the mid game for us.
Yeah.
And raiding is an activity that both of us enjoy.
Yeah.
It is probably my favorite part of the whole game. And like that mid game Mythic Plus experience is what I enjoy the most, which is learning the dungeon mechanics, learning the bosses, learning the routes.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's very good for me. But objectively speaking, it's not that it doesn't have as much variety, for example, as Destiny 2.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
So it cannot be as good. And the setting is not as interesting for the most part as better RPGs like 14.
Which is interesting, because it's a thing that World of Warcraft has struggled with, like, have variety in the ways that people gets there, which is the struggle of like have variety of people going through the mid game so they can do end game activities, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes.
But in my opinion, also the activities are so much better. Like for example, even though the quest in 14 is so good, like the quest, it's like the things that you're doing while questing are very monotonous. I'm very worried.
Okay, yeah, yes.
So your focus is on the dialogue and the cults, what's going on.
Yeah.
But the thing that you're actually doing in game is kind
very
of
trivial. Yeah. Yeah. Just travel here, go kill 12 mobs of X. Yeah.
Go interact with these three things.
Yeah. I know.
So it's very bad in that sense, but the story is amazing, and that's what keeps you engaged.
Yes, absolutely.
If I compare with Destiny 2, Destiny offers more variety, like just more different things to do.
Yeah.
But the quality of the things that you do is definitely lower in Destiny 2. Nightfalls are not that interesting, if you're being honest.
Yeah.
Not until you get to a point where they're the hardest thing.
Yeah, and that's where it become a little bit more interesting, because you have to kind of find like the deep of the Destiny 2 systems to work with you to beat those challenges. But that's technically an end game thing that you do, not a mid game thing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Destiny again is just things like Gambit. Yeah, it's just not that interesting overall.
Yeah.
PvP.
It's PvP. Yeah.
Here and there. Well, for example, Gambit can be very fun if you have a fire team of 4 friends to play with.
Yeah.
If you're just pugging, yeah, it's kind of not that interesting.
Yeah.
Amongst the best activities are, for example, the dungeon. But sadly, as they rotate the dungeons out, some of them you don't have to do for rewards.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, the overall quality of activities in Destiny 2 is not as high as the quality in World of Warcraft.
But World of Warcraft doesn't have that many.
So
it's variety versus quantity.
Yeah.
It's variety versus quality. Sorry. Yeah.
Like the power grinding in World of Warcraft is not that varied.
Yeah.
Like the gearing up is basically Mythic Plus. Like if you're, for example, exclusively PvE player, is basically Mythic Plus and raids.
Yeah.
But those two activities are gonna keep you engaged for a while.
And once in a while, some questing, but that's once in a while. Yeah.
So it's, you see that it has this weird mix of.
Yeah. So we'll put it meh.
Yeah, that's what I said. I don't think it's good, but it's not bad either.
Yeah.
And it's probably the one that I personally enjoy the most.
All right.
But that's because I enjoy the game. Like, I enjoy the gameplay more.
Yeah.
Than for the other game.
Yeah.
But then that again is a personal opinion. So.
Yeah.
And World of Warcraft has like objective problems with how it works.
Yes.
It's like that mid game is very grindy.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yes. Yeah.
But I have never felt bad with the grind because I just like the activity.
You like the actual activity. Yeah. Understand. Yeah. It's hard. I will put it into the mech category too. I like some things about the grind. I like the learning the new dungeons at some points. So Mythic Plus is entertaining for me, but I don't mind because I do like the rating. So
exactly.
Yeah. If I could
but it has
to the point.
platform.
It's funny because it's funny for me because to the point that if I could get all my gear from rating, I will get all my gear from rating. I do like Mythic Plus, but I don't like to grind Mythic Plus that much. I don't know, it's weird. You have weird relationships with these activities. Alright, one more game before our time runs out. Diablo 3?
Diablo 3 is basically a story, like, what is the end game? It's climbing the Greater Rift.
The highest Great Rift that you can, yeah.
So the mid game is, for example, grinding rifts.
Grinding paragons, grinding upgrades of the gems.
Yeah, but that's like the gameplay is very good.
Yeah.
But it's very repetitive.
Yeah. And that would be like a perfect example of a bad mid game.
that is a very bad mid game.
Yeah.
Because it gets old super fast.
Quick.
It has almost no variety.
Yeah.
And it's basically what we do at endgame, pretty much.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a terrible mid game.
But it's a game that we like a lot, for example.
Yeah, but it's a great game. But it's a terrible mid game.
It's a terrible mid game.
Yeah, it's a terrible mid game. All right. Do we have the time? Nah. All right, and that's it for today over deep dive. I think the conclusion of all this is like mid games should have variety, and they should have options and a lot of depth, right? As we define.
It should. The better ones do have
Yeah, because you spend a lot of time grinding in there, so they should have variety and depth, and so they won't bore you with what you have to do in them, right? I think that would be your conclusion.
It's where the meatiest part of the grind lies.
Yeah, so it should be interesting, and you should have varieties to be a good one. I think that's the conclusion of this entire thing.
It is a conclusion.
There we go. We did it. We got to a conclusion.
We got places.
We got places, yeah. All right, so we move to our audience questions and feedback. Remember, if you wanna have your deepest concern and your existential dreads answered here in the podcast, you can leave a comment down below if you're watching us on YouTube, or if you're hearing us in any of our platforms, you can send us an email, or you can contact us in any of our social media things that we exist, or that you know of. That means Twitter, that means email, that means direct messages, or however you feel that you want to communicate with us. And don't be shy to comment on the comment sections. It's fine. We'll give you love. We always give you love. So yeah, right? Yeah. All right, so first question of the week is, apparently last episode conclusion was not very clear, in part because we ran out of time, and in part because we were kind of like debating a thing.
we got in our own heads.
Yeah.
We apologize because it definitely was kind of messy.
Yeah, it was kind of messy and weird, and yeah, we had in this like gridlock of our opinions, and we're not like, I don't know. We were there to fight for a point, and we spent too much time.
It was an overall very weird episode, and we apologize.
Yeah. So
we should have been more aware of the direction that the discussion is going, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah. So what was the point?
So what was the point
of our big fight?
Not of the big fight, but like kind of what was the conclusion at the end of the...
Yeah. So what was the conclusion of the end of last episode?
Tell me. Because that's something I ponder as well.
I believe that the conclusion of last episode was that we all progress through games in different ways, but progress in games is always made, even if we are not aware. If that progress feels satisfying or not, it depends on the experience that the game is selling you. Right? You should not be feeling like you're doing a amount of chores, but you're feeling like you are going into a journey to somewhere else doing those activities. I think that was the conclusion of that we were trying. That was the point that we were trying to get into last episode, talking about different types of progress. Right?
Yeah, it's another one of those kind of mushy conclusions, but yeah, that sounds mushy. Very... No, it sounds kind of nor here nor there, but yeah, I agree with
Put it into better words then.
No, it's not about the wording itself. Yeah. It's just that the conclusion is, kind of everything depends on everything.
Well,
that's what it means, but there is nothing we can do about it.
All right.
What I'm saying is that's the nature of that discussion.
Yes. Because the nature of the discussion is, of course, games are a collection of chores put into an interactive experience, but the point is that you should not see that if the game is doing a good job on selling you on the experience.
Yeah, that's right? Pretty much.
That's pretty much it, right? And we try to I put a very analytic analysis on it, and then Lucho wanted me to be more granular with parts of the analysis that I did on it, and I will say no because I didn't want it to go the episode very long, even if we run out of time. Because I was trying to explain it that I didn't want to be more specific than that, and that was the main thing. But the conclusion is that you should not be aware. You should not feel that the games are just a collection of chores.
You shouldn't feel that way, even if it is that way.
Yeah. So that. All right, and our second question for this week is, when are we going to do an episode about competitive games?
When? I don't know, but we definitely should.
Should we have an episode about competitive games? We kind of deep into interesting topics. Last episode conclusion, if it was weird.
It was probably the episode where we have talked about competitive games the most.
Yeah.
Because we use League of Legends and I guess Overwatch up to some extent as one of our main examples for discussion purposes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we definitely should make episodes. Or I guess at this point we can select more topics where competitive games are the main points.
Yeah. I think the question to our audience is, what exactly would you like us to talk about competitive games?
If our audience has a suggestion,
yeah, that would be the question for you guys. What exactly would you want us to talk about competitive games? Like, how are they done? What is a good competitive game?
I mean, there are so many things, but if the audience has an idea, like a specific thing that they would like for us to talk about with regard to competitive games, yeah, we'll definitely do it.
Yeah. If not, we'll try to select. But they're coming. We have about a couple of people who are like, you should talk about this competitive game or this other competitive game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the main person in charge here of choosing the topics. I'll be more mindful of.
Yeah, just convince Lucho. Convince.
No, I'm convinced.
I'm joking.
I guess it's not my strong suit.
Yeah, because he doesn't play that many. Like the one that plays competitive games here is me. So he doesn't play that many competitive games. He has played Overwatch. Kind of like force him to play Overwatch.
Very casually. No, never.
And beyond that, really. Does World of Warcraft PvP counts as a competitive game?
I mean, if you play on the ranked list, yeah.
Does Destiny 2 PvP counts as a competitive game?
If your main focus is on the rank list, yeah.
There you go. So
I mean, it is competitive if when you lose you lose ranking.
Yeah.
Like if it is a ladder where you can go up and down, yeah, it is competitive because you can lose something.
Yeah, there you go. So
if it doesn't have that losing component, like if you don't lose anything, if you lose the game,
yeah,
then it's part of the casual.
Yeah, but we definitely have things to say about it. Like even if Lucho is not a big into competitive games, he has opinions and he has played some of them, so he can understand.
I have a lot of opinions.
Oh.
If nothing else, that's what I have.
Nothing else but opinions.
If nothing else, but I have our opinions.
Yeah, there you go. All right, and I think that's it for this week's show.
That's all for this week's episode. Once again, thanks for tuning into A Sweaty, the Farmer, and the Game Design. My name is Luch, and you can find me on Twitter @ResGPolank.
And I am the Lone Name Gamer. You can find me on Twitter @TheLoneNameGamer and on Twitch twitch.tv/LoneNameGamerTV, where I stream sometimes. Hopefully in the future. Follow me on your social media to know when I'm going live. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, do everything social. Share this all across the internet into your personal social media accounts. That's what helps us the most. If you have friends, you can reach to them, put it into your Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp chain, your WhatsApp merry wedding plan chain that you're planning, or like something like that. I don't know what I'm saying anymore, but post it in all the Post it in all the social things that you have. So, and that's the best way that you can support us. Just do that. Just share it in your socials. So yeah, thanks.
Just help us out.
Yeah, thanks a lot for coming to the Sweaty the Farmer and the Game Design. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye. And did you know the villages become a vibrant red color at harvesting time when the peppers are hung with string outside along the fences, the paprika peppers, because they're paprika peppers. And paprika is perishable and is best stored in a cold, dark place. So, yeah, isn't paprika just a spike? Isn't paprika just a paprika? Just a spice that you can just store in a spice container or something like that? Will it go bad if it's in powder?
I probably in powder, probably not.
Yeah, I think they're talking about the actual paprika pepper, which is.
Yeah, I mean that wouldn't be surprising.
Yeah. Which is beautiful color.
Yeah. And the peppers used to make paprika made their way to Hungary after Christopher Columbus brought them to Europe. From Spain, cultivating the peppers spread to the south of France and to England. In Hungary and also to Europe, the pepper plants were first used as decorative house.
Is paprika spicy? Like it's actually like a proper spicy pepper?
By a spicy being hot?
Yeah, hot.
Because it is spicy because...
Yeah, it is a spice because it's spicy, quote unquote. But the question is it hot?
That's a different question. It's a little bit hot. It has a tang to it.
It is, right? It's because now that I know it comes from actual peppers.
Yeah, but not all peppers. Like bell peppers are not hot.
To some people, apparently, they're hot.
Yeah, but they're not hot.
Yeah.